I would like to invite Mike Cheney from the Ad Lib group, the library campaigning group, to say a few words.
Why, when so much of what's paid for out of public money is being cut back, are West Dorset and the County Council so out of step? As Alistair has hinted, perhaps there are reasons we don't know about. Certainly West Dorset is doing all its damnedest to stop us from finding out. It's a pity its leader, Robert Gould, isn't here to explain exactly how and why the deal was done. Question: how will they find this enormous amount of money? Unexpectedly, it seems it won't come from the pot of money set up to fund such capital projects. Instead, the cost is being converted into a long-term charge against the county's housekeeping money, its revenue budget. And with that creative bit of accounting, you're going to stump up £200,000 a year for years to come. But this murky tale gets even murkier. Within days of deciding to dip into its housekeeping money, the County Council found that, to balance its books, it had to make huge cuts to all its services. So it's to cut £800,000 from the money it spends on its libraries. So we're faced with this crazy, bizarre state of affairs. The county is planning to go on paying year after year for this new library, while at the same time it says it's going to need to clobber all the other libraries. It's the young and the old, the disabled and the isolated who'll come off badly in the mayhem it plans to inflict on its libraries. And the extent of that mayhem will take your breath away.
I began to wonder why a county like Dorset, steeped as it is in the democratic history of this country, had voted itself a council who neither cared to invoke the will of its people or respected the democratic tradition of its county.
Offices are really just a tale of democratic deficit from start to finish. On the district council, my group, the Liberal Democrats, has been fighting it right from word go, and everything we've done to try to stop it has been ignored. Block voting by the Conservatives and the Independents each time, with absolutely no consideration of what ordinary people want. There's been a referendum in Dorchester.
But a short examination of how this state of affairs has come about and why we are here should teach us all we need to know about West Dorset District Council in advance of the elections in May. All through the council minutes tells you when the wires of democracy in West Dorset were ever so neatly cut. In the council meeting of the 17th of May of 2007, immediately after the last election for district council, Councillor Robert Gould put a proposal to the members of the council. The minutes of that meeting read as follows. Members considered a report by the Chief Executive to revise the political management structure. The restructure proposal would ensure clarity of roles for members who could specialise in their chosen area, and members would not be overburdened by the need to attend an excessive number of council meetings. The Executive Committee, appointed by the Leader of the Council, would bring accountability and transparency to the decision-making process. And so it came to pass that the Leader of the Council decides the size of the Executive Committee and appoints its members. The Leader of the Council is charged with the single onerous duty of reporting his decisions to the next council meeting. And so, good people of Dorchester, you find yourself with a project which has been voted on by an executive committee with not a single representative of Dorchester on it. Unlike your district council, your town council thinks democracy is important. And with reference to today's concern, namely Charles Street, Dorchester Town Council ran the first ever town poll on the issue. 93% of those voting gave a resounding no to the project. A pretty clear answer, you may have thought. But WDDC dismissed the vote as not being representative, because those polled only represented 3% of the population of Dorset. The final question that you may wish to ask is, why is it, when this scheme is so obviously unpopular, that your council is so keen to persist with it?
Now, this scheme was originally for affordable homes. The developer decided that they couldn't afford to build affordable homes, as well as the retail, so they asked the District Council to help them. So the District Council are basically helping to fund a private development scheme to use up this land in a way that isn't going to be helping in a recession at all, because the retail part of it isn't going to happen. We don't know when it's going to happen.
Now in order to answer that question, you have to look at how the Charles Street site came to be adopted in the first place. Now, many of you will remember that the first time round in the original plan, Charles Street was to be a residential development. And it was to be a residential development of both affordable and otherwise houses proposed along the south flank parallel to the south walks. It was council land. They had leased that land to the developer Simmons. The deal being that Simmons would build the houses and it could make its profit from the sale of those houses. Meanwhile, money would accrue to West Dorset District Council through the lease of the land. Now, that's a perfectly sensible commercial deal. The minutes of the 16th of December of 2008 are very revealing. It was reported to the council at the meeting that the Charles Street development and the Brewery Square development, the other alternative, were more or less equal in terms of cost and functionality. And therefore, members needed to look at the wider issues when considering the preferred site. Now, that sentence is open to considerable question, given that Brewery Square would have cost, in fact, £1.9 million less. But leave that aside for the moment. The very next sentence in those minutes reads as follows. The developer of the Charles Street site, had advised the council that in the current climate, housing on the site would not be a viable option.
Shame!
And that the viability of developing the site would be enhanced if the site were chosen for the new council offices. The viability of the site, you may ask, for who? For you?
Houses!
For the district?
No!
Or for the developer?
Yes!
At that stage is that WDDC then went on to lend the clearly very hard up developer Simmons £250,000 so that they could progress the development. You may have noticed the stench emanating from Stratton House. It may have been that stench that made the district council so keen to move their offices. Since the sale of council housing stock, West Dorset District Council happens to be sitting on £50 million.
Shame!
It puts them into the rich list of district councils in this country. 12 million is ready to spend. but not a penny, I venture to suggest, has been seen by the people of West Dorset who need it. The tank behind me is, as you know, merely symbolic. But in Libya, they are having to use such weapons to dislodge a dictator whose name begins with G. You do not have to resort to such weapons. You have an equally powerful weapon at your disposal, and that is the ballot box, come May.